All right, welcome everybody to this episode 75 of the Navigating Now virtual roundtable series brought to you by Thoughttium. My name is Anthony Ewing, of course, your host. Although I shouldn't say of course, we've had a couple of guest hosts over the course of the last few weeks. I've been just thrilled to see the conversation really lit up by a few different colleagues of ours across Thoughttium. I want to thank all those who have stepped into the conversation. Today, we are going live with Nik Rodriguez, the founder of Train Moment. And Nik is not only an incredible member of the Navigating Now community, he is a friend. In many ways, he's a mentor to myself, to a couple of different folks here at Thoughttium, and to the community at large in the Midwest, particularly in Chicago. So we're going to introduce Nik here in just a moment, but to cover off on a couple of housekeeping items, we go live every Thursday at 3 o'clock. We want to welcome all of our social media communities, particularly those folks who have joined via LinkedIn. We absolutely love our LinkedIn community, and we are so proud and thrilled to have the LinkedIn community that we do and the ability to go live on LinkedIn every Thursday. We also stream to YouTube and Facebook. You can catch all of our episodes, current and previous, at thoughttium.com/live. So as I mentioned, we have a perennial guest here on the Navigating Now series. Nik Rodriguez, the founder of Train Moment, joins us. And Nik has been on the show twice before. He has been one of these incredible, almost guideposts that we've had throughout the pandemic. 75 episodes strong. Nik has been with us the entire way. In fact, we brought him on one of the first episodes as we were kind of unpacking a lot of the change that was happening in the small business marketplace in Chicago. Since then, Nik has not only endured a great deal of change, he has thrived in building a team and an incredible culture to go with it. I think above everything, he has built one of the most unique communities that you can find in Chicago. And he's done it all with such authenticity and grace and a real style that is just unmatched. And so we are just thrilled to bring Nik back to the table today. Nik, welcome.
My pleasure to be here, Anthony. Thank you very much for the kind words.
Yeah, absolutely. So I get so excited when we get to talk to leaders that we've been able to touch base with, over the course of the last, almost 24 months here of the pandemic. You and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, and I made reference to it being almost 3 years. And of course, it's been 2, but it almost feels like it could be 3, 4, or 5. And I think one of the things that excites me the most is that we're now at a point where I think we can all step back and reflect at the last couple of years, not only the change that's happened, but a lot of the good that has come from the last few years. When we were standing at the doorstep of the pandemic, Nik, you and I were talking more so about, resilience and innovation, all of the ingredients that it would take to move through the pandemic. I'd love today to just stand and really talk about your transformation over the last couple of years. And we're going to focus in on a couple of key topics, particularly the mentality that it's taken. But first, Nik, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to over the course of the last 2 years. If you think back to April of 2020, when we first, sat at this table, it's a different world. And I know that Train Moment is a different community. Tell us a little bit about, what's been going on over the last couple of years.
Yeah, man, we've just been growing, learning, refining our product, growing our community, like you've alluded to, and that's, there's a lot of aspects about Train Moment that my wife and I are very proud of, and the community is right up there towards the top. I mean, it's just an amazing room of people. Every time you step into a session, it's like you don't know who you're going to run into, and just continuing to foster relationships within the gym that turn into real relationships outside of the gym. And it's all very cohesive to life. It's not just hey, I'm here at this place a few times a week. It's people, I've heard so many people, even just over the last course of the last couple of weeks, be like, I just love spending time in your space. Like, the 5 minutes before the session, the 5 minutes after the session. Like, I wish I had more time to stay here and have a coffee afterwards, right? And so that's just really cool. In the hustle and bustle, the world that we live in, to have a space where people want to sit and linger a little bit longer, right,
Mm-hmm.
is special. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the train moment is it's so many things, and I think you could look at it as in its most like elemental form as a space, and now you've got
Mm,
several spaces, and
mm,
people come to your space, they with the intent of, working out, kind of getting after it. But what you realize very quickly is it's so much more than just the workout. And we'll
mm,
talk a little bit about that because I think that's at the core of your brand is the fact that you all create the space for not just fitness, but for connection, for community, for camaraderie. And that's really, really special. And we'll touch on that in a second. Let's talk a little bit about even your business model and how it's evolved over the last couple of years, because the last time we spoke, you had spun up a digital platform, so you were almost like adding channels to your repertoire, and
mm.
now maybe we're in a place where more folks are able to join live. So tell us a little bit about the evolution. You started with one location, you went to a digital platform, and now you've got multiple. Take us through, from a business perspective, some of the big decisions you've made over the last couple of years.
Yeah, certainly. So, yeah, November 2021 was our 2 year anniversary. So, just a little over 2 years old. So we were 4 months old when the pandemic took place and set in for us. And we had a lot to learn, and we learned a lot. We grew a lot. We evolved during the closure of the pandemic, and right away, the day after we closed, we started offering free digital content via Instagram Live, and did it every day throughout the pandemic, multiple lives for free. And then out of that, spun and created a paid for digital training service, which is where we were when we were touching base April 2022,
Mm-hmm.
last time I was on the show. And, we had some big hopes and dreams for that to go on for longer than it has. We've wound that down, but it wasn't a loss by any stretch of the imagination. We got to serve a lot of people digitally. We received cards, letters from all over the country of, you guys were my saving grace while I couldn't leave my house, while I couldn't go to the gym, while I couldn't do that. Like, you guys kept me sane, and that made it all worth it. On top of that, that we were able to keep our coaches employed, our coaches busy, our coaches making money, having money come in through doing the digital training. And so it was a great blessing to a lot of people. It was a learning lesson. There's just a lot of people in the digital space, and even
Yeah.
more because of the pandemic, and a lot of people with a lot more money than we have. I do believe that the product and the training that we were giving was right up there with the best of them, but we didn't have the capacity to get it out there, and that's okay as well. And at the end of the day, what we're truly about and what we love is being able to have in-person community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so, and
What were
so
some of, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
And so, yeah, but we've been able to continue to grow our in-person community and our brand, and open up into a second market of Milwaukee, jumping from Chicago, adding our second location in Milwaukee, which is quite peculiar for a small business to, a lot of the time, most people, I get it all the time. Like, why did you go to a different market? Right. It's like, why, Chicago is such a big market that it can
Mm-hmm.
hold and sustain two business locations of our type of model. And it's just how things worked out with the opportunity in Milwaukee. But it's also just been really cool to see that, hey, how transferable what Train Moment is, and how hungry people are for what Train Moment is providing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. What were some of the things that maybe you learned with the digital platform? Like some of the big lessons going digital. I mean, I heard one of them is like it's just a saturated like market, right? Like digital fitness and things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. Like, did it almost put more of a premium on the in person? Like it maybe helped you realize like what you had in person, or what were some of the lessons that you learned in very quickly having to spin up a digital platform to support hundreds of members from across the country?
I think what it, kind of a, you know, what it taught us is how to move and adapt quickly, if anything, right? And how to, man, figure it out, right?
Yep.
It was a problem solving situation, and something we had never done before. And technology and different uh, things that we had to get versed on and learn. So more than anything, it was a brain exercise, right? And
Yeah.
very much what I believe that schooling and university is.
Yeah.
It's teaching people how to learn, right?
Yep.
And it taught us it had us sharpen our learning muscles.
Yeah. Did you find, one of the things, because the learning experience that we've all had over the last couple of years, I think has been the most valuable byproduct of the pandemic. Did you find that spinning up the digital platform almost allowed you to try and test without having this like extremely high bar, because you just had to put it in place? I mean, I remember when the digital platform was, I mean, it was like day 2 and I walked in and we had a discussion and you were showing me some of the equipment that you were going to be using to fill the gap between, day 2 of the pandemic and when you could actually get a sustainable like studio together. It was like, consumer grade stuff that you had on tripods, and you were just like doing it, like, because you just needed to get your content out there.
Yeah.
And did you find value in that exercise of like, you didn't have months to prepare, you couldn't choreograph or rehearse, like you just had to get equipment, get your folks in a room, and start providing value out to your members?
No, exactly. It was a trial by fire, and
Yeah.
that's where when you're put to the fire, you're gonna learn, right? You're gonna learn, or
Yeah.
you're gonna burn. And we learned, and we also, I think it was a great opportunity for us to show our community how much we cared about them, how much we're willing to jump through hoops, because again, it was free content, right?
Yep.
And then also keeping our coaches and staff engaged, and so I think they felt how much they saw the grounds and the lengths that we would go to serve people, to keep them going. And so more than anything, I think it created a lot of great goodwill for Train Moment and the feelings around it, our community around it. So yeah.
Well, as somebody who is a member of Train Moment, a fanatic, I think I'm almost hitting my 300th class. I too followed the Train Moment at home back when everything was really shut down. And it's funny because I live in the apartment building that's above the studio, and so there's a lot of members in our apartment building, and I knew the person above me was also a member at Train Moment, and it was almost like I knew her workout schedule, because you could hear the jumping up and down and like the dropping of weights and stuff. So it really was. I mean, even just that, the connection that I had to somebody above me that was also doing workouts in a weird way was a little piece of home, or a little connection in a world where we were, completely shut down. And, I just give you all so much credit for not only making such a hard pivot, but doing so with such kind of ingenuity, and also with a mindset of like, it doesn't have to be perfect. One of the things that we've learned over the course of the last few years is a lot of the things that we've had to do that were very quick and very low fidelity and very rough. And this show is actually one of them. I mean, there's a reason why we're still behind a Zoom screen, and it's because we just kind of had to spin it up and we had to do it. And we realized that when you take away that expectation of high level of production, that expectation of absolute perfection, in certain cases, you're able to deliver messaging, you're able to deliver dialogue, and you're able to build community in places that are fairly new and not necessarily something that you can plan for. And so, and that's probably what you felt with the digital platform too, is it's like it almost opened new levels of community because it wasn't perfectly scripted.
Yeah, in a very authentic, manufactured way, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to have all the trappings. You boiled it down to what it was, right?
Right.
To exercise, to sweating, to moving, to connecting, to like you said, you knew you weren't alone because of the screen that you saw as you're doing the workout and the thumps you heard above you, right? And that was the human connection that you had, and it was what carried you through.
Yeah. With all of that being said, I am so happy to be back in the Train Moment location, because it is absolutely one of a kind. It's just an experience from start to finish. I'd love to know, Nik, like, tell me the in-person experience. What were some of the most critical ingredients, or like the must-haves when you guys were designing the in-person experience? And from my perspective, the in-person experience hasn't changed a bit, but I do know that you've been improving on it. So tell me about, like, what were the initial key ingredients to the in-person experience, and what are some of the things that, like, you've tweaked that we might not even notice, but it just makes for a better experience along the way?
Yeah. So, paramount and everything that we were doing from the get-go was just good exercise, good programming, right? That was safe for people. Safe and simple programming is at the strength training. Safe and simple strength training is at the basis of what Train Moment gives at its core product. And so that's never changed. And, around that is, where my wife really takes the mantle of all the experience and the trappings, the totality around that, right? She wraps it up in a beautiful package, from the branding, from the experience, from the aesthetics as you walk in, from the scent in the air as you walk in, and then, as the shades come lifting up after the training experience. And, that may be the single most commented on aspect of Train Moment, is like how cool the shade experience is, and like all the great things. It's like, it's from my wife, right? It was her idea. So, So, and so nothing has changed from that aspect of just trying to consistently put out well thought out, simple, safe strength exercises and training for our populations. And there's a big thing in the training community. If you follow, like, there's all kinds of training philosophies out there, and people say this is the way, this is the way, this is the way. But you'll see a lot of people that just believe in true, pure strength training. They're like, strength training is kind of boring. You do the same few exercises over and over and over and over again. You mess with rep ranges, you mess with weights, and you continue to do that. And that's how you get stronger, right? But a lot of people don't like to do that because it's not enough mental stimulation, because they like variety of exercise and then moves. So what I'm really proud of is our ability to stay true to really good, simple strength training, but keep it varied enough that people stay engaged with our training protocols, right? Right. And a big part of that, and something that did come out of the closure of the pandemic and just giving us, that time to think through it, was having a nuance to our days of the week. So each day of the week being, benchmark Monday, 2-minute Tuesday, posterior Wednesday. So having that nuance, I think, has allowed for a lot of variability to come into our simple, structured strength training.
Yeah, and again, some of those tweaks are felt, some of those tweaks are seen, some of them aren't. But I will tell you that at the core of Train Moment is an experience, and it's funny that you get the remark about the shades, because it's like there have been several times where I've taken a class where I've thought, what if those shades were broken? Like, it just wouldn't be the same experience. I'm like, what happens when those shades break and the workout ends and we're all just waiting for those shades to come up and they don't come up,
You got to keep working till it goes up.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about Train Moment, the transformation, that you've all been through from a business perspective. I want to talk a little bit about, you, a business owner, Nik, because I've gotten to know you as a business owner, as a friend over the course of the last few years. And, it's interesting. I think partnerships, relationships like ours are very unique in that I've been able to see different shades of your leadership over the course of the last few years. And that's been really exciting. And I think that's one of the most incredible aspects of the Navigating Now community, is that we get to see leaders evolve and take their teams through different things. And I'm just curious, Nik, when you talk about transformation of your team, what has the mentality been for you over the last few years, and how has that evolved? Like at the beginning of the pandemic, we were very focused on continuity and stability, and then of course we had to do things like innovate a new platform, et cetera. But like, how has your mentality shifted over the last couple years, or maybe what are some of those components of your mentality or of your day to day that haven't shifted?
Yeah. I think overall it would be like an evolution of it's the same style of leadership, and that stems from understanding as an employer, as a business owner, having employees, having people work for us. If I get them to operate at their best, to be in an atmosphere where they're thriving, and at the end of the day, that's going to be a benefit for our organization. So it's developing and working to develop individuals, and that was really when I was my first ownership position three fitness concepts ago. That was the coolest thing when I first realized. I had an employee come up to me and share with me that he was going to be proposing to his then girlfriend at the time. And it just hit me that like these people that are working for me are making life decisions based on the stability and the opportunity that my business is offering them. And that's when the weight and the true gravity of business ownership set in for me, and what I knew would be the most important and heavy and vital role was making sure that it's not just me succeeding, it's our whole community, our whole team succeeding and doing life. And so now step into Train Moment and seeing the growth that we've been able to foster, growing into second locations, being able to create some managerial roles, some other things outside of training, because when we first opened Train Moment, my wife and I wore a lot of hats, right? And now we're being able to take off hats and give delegate and give responsibility, and that's always been something that I've been very scared to do. But it's very necessary if you want to scale anything, right? And so being able to empower our coaches, empower our new manager and studio leads to do their job, and getting to see them step into that and be able to step away from it, has been it's been really cool. And it's also been, we've been very blessed because we have amazing people, and we don't have to really worry about it. So just that evolution of my leadership style of fostering other people's growth and being able to create opportunity, create roles for them to step into and reach their aspirations and goals.
Yeah, and it's almost like that experience is shared with your membership as well too. It's been really cool for us to see the evolution of your team, and for us to see you enabling some of the coaches to be coaches and leaders. Like Ovi's one of your trainers, who I met a couple years ago, who was really just focused on delivering great workouts, is now managing your second location up in Milwaukee. And I had a couple opportunities to talk with him about what that meant for him and what that meant for his career path and what that meant for his family. And it's huge. And to your point, I think in early growth mode of a startup, you maybe don't feel the gravity of the impact that your organization has on your own employees until you onboard employees, they get in, and you start to hear some of the stories about how work is affecting their life, or life is affecting their work, big life decisions that are happening. And unfortunately, in the last few years, we've all had to deal with a lot of adversity, and it's made people leadership all that much more important, and also just all that much more real. And so, I commend you for that shift in your mentality. You've got me thinking about one question that I wanted to reserve for the lightning round, but I want to ask it here. It sounds like a lot of your focus over the last year or so has been, expanding, into the second location, and also, enabling your team and supporting your team. What is this? What is the work that you do, that you do a lot of, that you'd like to not do a lot of? Like, what's the work that you do that you don't prefer, but you have to do it anyway?
Probably I would have to probably say HR functions of onboarding employees and paperwork and payroll, and I look forward to the day when I can hopefully offload that. Hopefully we grow the organization large enough to where somebody can take that off of my plate. I don't know, it's just very cut and dry and nuanced, and you have to do it. It's not very creative. It's more necessity, right? So it takes a lot of time and energy, and there's just a lot of check boxes to do, and as you continue to add more people, it takes more and more time, right? Over the last 6 months, I'd say our business on most fronts has doubled, right? Between staff and locations and all the things. And so doubling that staff, and, hopefully we can do that again over the next 6 to 12 months if things continue to go well.
Yeah, the HR kind of admin it's almost like the exact opposite of what we love to do as people leaders, which is just be amongst our people and having good discussions and having one-on-ones and developing. It's literally the exact opposite. And my business partner, Norm, will laugh when he says that, like, my favorite thing to do is just to be in conversation with our folks. But then when it comes to like having to follow up with something, I'm not that great with it. I just want to be amongst the people is really where it's at. So
I wish I had a funner answer for you, but I guess
I know. Well, I think it's important sometimes even to just acknowledge like that work, that there is a lot of work as a business owner that we do that we don't necessarily enjoy. And anybody that says that they enjoy every aspect of what they do, I talk to very few business leaders who are able to say that. There's always work that we've got to do, and I think fortunately for us, we enjoy a little bit of that too. It's a little bit of the process that it takes. It's a little bit of the practitionership, and it's also knowing that at some point, Nick, you're going to have an HR role or an HR function that's going to take care of this, and it's kind of nice to know that like you're in it right now, and you can kind of hand over those best practices and those insights. That's what being a business owner is all about. I want to ask one more question, just in terms of like the mentality. Like, what has been one of the most surprising things about your evolution over the last couple of years, and maybe what has been one of the most challenging things in terms of your leadership? What has surprised you about yourself in the last couple of years? And what has been maybe the most, challenging when it comes to leading a business and leading a team?
That's a good question. Those are both good questions. What has surprised?
One of the things that you and I were talking about just earlier today was the feeling that you get when you can step away from your business and it's just, the business is just humming. The team is humming, the community hasn't let up, and wherever you are, that your location in Chicago and your location in Milwaukee is A-okay. And sometimes we have these moments as leaders that it is a little surprising, because we've spent forever with such a tight grip on things, right? So have you had those moments where maybe you've stepped away and it's like, ooh, wow.
Yeah, and thank you for peeking that. And I guess I'd have to say, the most surprising is how well I believe that I have been able to let go of certain things. And that's not my nature by any stretch of the imagination. Delegation has never been a strong point for me, but I think I've improved tremendously over it. And if I could pat myself on the back for that, for being able to do that. But I also, I think I gotta give it up to the people that we have holding the fort, that they make it very easy for me to relinquish that. And just a lot of life experiences that have happened and transpired over the last couple of years that have allowed me to assess what is important and what I'm going to allow myself to get wrapped up and hold on too tightly and get too strung out about. And being able to delegate and being able to relinquish and being able to step back and truly be okay with it, I think is a tremendous point of growth that I've realized in myself.
Yeah. You have such a following. Train Moment has a following, but I know that you and Katie particularly also have a big following. People just absolutely love you. You're both very visible business owners and leaders. Again, me having such proximity, there's very few days where I'm walking by where either you or Katie are not there, waving and ready to have a conversation. What has it been like, sharing, your life with your community, whether that be in the hallway conversations, after class or before, or, even some of the sharing that you've done on social media. People just absolutely love to follow you and Katie. And what has that been like, sharing a bit of you with your community?
Yeah, I think it comes a little bit more naturally to me than it does my wife. But she does a tremendous job, and we made decisions several years ago that we felt like there were a lot of people looking in on our lives and how we were moving, and we wanted to be open and authentic with it, right? And not just talk about the good things, talk about the difficult things, talk about the struggles, and that is, if we have these people looking at us, I think they can benefit more from seeing how we can move and operate through struggles. And that necessitates openness, vulnerability, authenticity, and
it's a gift. There's not many business leaders, and especially those that are out in front of the community, that are so willing to share the struggles and the pitfalls. And I, for one, have just really appreciated when you all have done that, business owner to business owner, but also just as a member of your community. It adds a level of authenticity. And I know that, most of the folks that follow you and follow Katie and follow your entire team are just that much more engaged, that much closer to what makes Train Moment special. And I think that's a huge differentiator. Speaking of differentiators, one maybe last topic that I wanted to touch on, because I'm so fascinated with brand development and what it takes to build a brand and some of the key components to a brand. And I would say, if you asked anybody on my team, and we're all followers of Train Moment, if not, we're members of Train Moment, my team would say that Train Moment is so much more than a gym. They'd say that it's a lifestyle, it's a brand, it's a community. Gym would be one of 4 or 5 different things. And I'm just curious, how has your brand evolved? How are you thinking about Train Moment, the brand today, versus, when you started?
Yeah, great question. And if we're speaking on the brand, I gotta talk about my wife, because she is the heralder of the brand. The brand Train Moment, it is her, right? We wouldn't have the strong brand if it wasn't for her. And for us to be where we are from a branding standpoint, and the whole ethos of Train Moment is just being obsessive about it. You have to be obsessive about it, and just and she does. She puts her foot in the, this is what we're going to have. This is not what we're going to have. That doesn't fly. This doesn't fly. And, I'd have to say that she's obsessive about it, and that, but that's what but look what it's produced, right? And she's the carrier and the mantle of that. And yeah, I do think that, and I'd like to think that what you see from Train Moment is just the beginning. And from what even the 4 or 5 different avenues that you spoke of and mentioned, that this is still just the beginning and of a blossoming of what Train Moment can be in people's lives and people's whether they live in a community that has a Train Moment or not. Chicago or Milwaukee or any other markets that we would be blessed to expand into over the years. But what a cool thing that kind of piqued my interest, and who knows if anything will ever develop from this, but did you notice the custom candles that we did for the holidays?
Yeah, I bought one. Of course.
Yeah, people ate those up. We had to order them. We had to order like 3 or 4 orders because they just kept selling out. And just came up people, and like people really do engage with and enjoy our brand, right? And so just that essence of Train Moment at home, like having Train Moment home, like something in your home that reminds you of this place that you like to be in, and with the candle, it's that scent, right? And it just becomes more than an exercise, more than a workout. And from the beginning, one of our first taglines, I'd like to probably bring it back in some more marketing things, is this isn't a gym, this is a mindset. Train Moment is a mindset, right? It's a mindset of humility. It's a mindset of leaving my ego at the door. It's a mindset of discipline. It's a mindset of routine and committing to me. I signed up for this session. I'm going to come out and I'm going to show up in this session. And I'm going to get every time you show up to Train Moment, I feel like you could want to, half butt the workout and, go easy, but you walk out of there and you worked a little bit harder than you thought you were going to go into and do it. And so it works out. And so it's just that mindset that we want to continue to build and strengthen in people and prepare people, for the big moments, right? Train Moment. We want to prepare people for the big moments, but how do you do that? You do that in all the little moments that most people don't respect and don't honor along the way. And if we can continue to create that and instill that and produce a brand that inspires people to do that, we're very grateful.
Yeah. Huge shout out to Katie, your wife, your business partner. I mean, you can just tell in not just the details, but as you mentioned, really the ethos, that there has been such care that has put into Train Moment, the experience. And, she might be very soft spoken about it, but I get the sense that as much as she might be classically trained in the look and the aesthetic and the brand, it's more so that like she's in it every day. I see her in that space so often, kind of looking around and just making sure. And that's something that I think is incredibly special, to have a business partner and a wife who's in it with you, who is the eyes and the ears, who sees, all of the details, and is so willing to continue to develop the brand the way that she has. I mean, it's really beautiful. If you can, if a classic gym, and again, you're more than a gym, but if you guys can put together a candle, and a candle does well, like, you have something, right? Like if someone like me can walk through and be like, "Ooh, I've got to have that candle." And you're right. Like it's a bit of, would you want this brand in your home? Would you want this brand in your home? And for those of us who prescribe to the digital platform, of course, we want the workouts in the home. But I think that's a really interesting litmus, that if you can develop, in this case, like a consumer good that has nothing to do with workouts, and there are people that want that in their home, like that's something that's super, super special.
Yeah.
I want to see how many candles Orange Theory can sell. I bet nowhere near as many as Train Moment.
Yeah, that's funny. That
Not to get competitive, but
that's
that's such a cool little pilot you guys ran.
no doubt, no doubt. That's a cool perspective that you put on there.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, we're very grateful to be stewarding that, and yeah, again, just have to hand that over and applaud my wife,
Yeah.
who carries that with such excellence and such grace.
Love it. What is next for Train Moment? You know, what are you
Mm.
most excited about as you look out a year, 2, 3 years?
And I think I'm just excited to continue to build different communities and different locations. Our plan is to open up some more studios, and but
Mm-hmm.
we will always do it. We're never going to force anything, and we want to have everyone to be high quality, authentic, and not just for the sake of doing another one. And
Yeah.
so I look forward to, like, Milwaukee has just been an amazing experience to see uh, the creation of a community in 2.5 months out there, and to see what's been built has been truly inspiring and uplifting to us for the prospects of doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so cool to see the feedback of people, and just being like, I didn't have a place, I've never had a place, I've never felt like I had a place. Now Train Moment, I have
Yeah.
that, I have a place, and
Yeah.
people create friendships and they do life with people, and so that's just really, really special.
It's special. And if you could throw the last two years at an emerging small business in Chicago, the way that the last 2 years were thrown at you, and to see you all thrive the way that you have, it's almost like you all can withstand it, anything. And I feel like as things start to open up and more people can get exposed to some of these new locations that you have. I mean, Nik, what you and the team have right now it's so incredible, it's so amazing, it's so unique, but it really feels like it's just the beginning. And I want to congratulate you for just the incredible success that you've had, and more than anything, the way that you've done it has been so true and so authentic and so meaningful to so many people, including myself and our entire team. So I want to thank you for that.
Pleasure is all mine and all of ours. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we always like to end things with a little bit of a lightning round. We've been talking business, so let's talk a little bit more about you personally. I'm going to ask you like 4 or 5 quick questions, and I want you to give me kind of the first thing that comes off the top of the dome. Okay.
All right.
What are you reading today that you're really excited about?
I'm reading some books on parenting, as Katie, as my wife and I look to bring our first living child into the world here in a couple months. So I got an awesome book about gathering parenting techniques from more ancient cultures, and that have lived and made its way into South America, into some Eskimo tribes, and just yeah. So that's where my world is. That's my number one priority right now, is being ready to be the best father that I can be.
That's incredible. What are you watching? Any shows?
Uh, I think, like most of America, my wife and I just finished the first part of the recent series of Ozarks.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so we just finished that up, and I think we're going to dive into some. We try to watch a show before going to wind down and watch one show of something, and we get on our show. Last night we started Power Book 4. I don't know, the Power series, and it's
Yep.
shot in Chicago. And
Yep.
this Book 4 is shot in Chicago, and one of our friends is actually has a role in the series, and so that's cool to see her.
That's awesome. Any new, aspiring business owner, someone who wants to start something and build something from the ground up, if you could recommend that they go and get a lesson in this, what would it be?
A lesson in, man, I think just go and work for some type of business that is similar, that you want to work, that you want to create. And whether that's the lowest man on the totem pole job or not, just go and figure it out. That's how I kind of got to where I'm at today.
Yeah, you got to get in the work. That's awesome. Okay,
get your hands
Nik,
dirty.
How do people find you? How do people find Train Moment? For the two people probably on here that don't know how to find you, how do they find you?
Yeah, trainmoment.com, Train Moment, social media handles, at Train Moment. If you want to see me on Instagram, it's NixPix6, NixPix 6. Yeah, you don't have to follow me though. I'm not as fun as Anthony's making me sound.
Yeah, well, you've got an incredible followership. You've got a lot of people that believe in you and Train Moment, and the Thought Team community is definitely a part of that. And we're honored to be a part of your community. Nik, thank you so much for joining. I know this won't be the last time, and we want to wish you and your entire team so much more success in the year ahead.
Yes, sir. You as well. You and the whole Thought Team team. Thank you for having me again. And yeah, this won't be the last time for sure, Anthony.
Thank you, Nik. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
As we wrap up, I want to share with everybody, of course, today's episode was great. If you want to rewatch it, all of our previous episodes and current episodes are at thoughtteam.com/live. Next week, we have another incredible guest at the table. Suman Shargalamudi is going to be joining us. She comes from Pinterest. She knows, a lot about obviously content, but also brand development. And we are so excited to talk to her about the evolution of content and brand development. Just extremely excited to have that conversation next week. We go live every Thursday at 3:00, thoughtteam.com/live. For those folks who tuned in via YouTube and LinkedIn, we want to thank you so much for joining. Everybody have a great rest of the week, and we will see you next time.